All right. This is Brother Chooch thinking out loud about the end times. I am trying a new software here, which is called StreamYard. And I'm not sure if you guys could hear me or not or see me. I'm hoping that that's the case. There's a little bit different format. So I'm going to give it a shot. The reason why I'm using StreamYard is that it allows you to invite other guests to join in. And so having like a wackadoodle or hopefully maybe someday a Barry Scarborough come in, I thought would be very nice. So we're going to give this a try. And let me see here if I could even figure out who's here in the chat room. This is, again, new format and different than YouTube. So let me see if I could figure this out here. Well, let me say hi to who I can see. I see Nancy Anderson, Jeffrey Alpha, Jim Jackson, Rambling Rose, Eric Nelson, English Rose of Sharon, Raptor Saint, William, Donna R., Jesse Noland, Shannon Gilbert, and Jason Graves, Bonnie Chadwell, Sevenhead, Dee Marie, In the Wake of Revelation 12, Jim Jackson, Daniel Baldwin, Danielle Voski, Kitty Cat Beatrice. So welcome to you all. I'm going to keep it a little bit short because started a little bit late. So tonight's subject has to do with the Middle East. And I made a statement of the Middle East being the crisis that's currently going on will come to a head. And that's the part where, if you've been following the news, it's quite apparent that it's like a powder keg. It's just a matter of time before things explode. What we want to do is realize that we will be in a situation day by day when you're going to hear in the news things are volatile. Iran is threatening Israel, and Israel is threatening Iran, and there's a lot of activity going on in Syria. And you may even hear of the peace treaties. You're hearing of the Abraham Accords. A lot of focus. And so it's a situation where we say, yeah, they talk back and forth, but nothing really happens. And that's the part where it's like we have to consider that all it takes is for the right situation to happen, and that's going to spark a big problem in the Middle East. Okay, so it seems like people are saying I look a bit choppy. Am I pixelating for you guys? Yes, on and off. Okay, it seems like it's a little bit jumpy. So we'll keep going with it. Like I said, I'm experimenting with this new software, so I'm not sure if that's affecting things or not. A bit. Look and sound choppy. Picture isn't bad, just not as crisp. Okay. All right, so if this doesn't work out, then we'll probably go with we're we'll probably scrap this software. But right now, let's use this particular night as a trial run, and hopefully, for the most part, you guys could see me and hear me okay. So if you consider, again, what's from the Watchman perspective, how important Israel is, okay? Because we know that when it comes to times, it really is about Israel. It's called the time of Jacob's trouble. Even though it's going to be trouble for the whole world, it's still the time of Jacob's trouble. And so if we had everything going on right now, like COVID, and we got the, earthquakes going on in the Ring of Fire, we got a lot of stuff going on. But if Israel was, not having these conflicts with their neighbors, it might take a little bit of oomph out of the prophetic picture. But we know that that is not the case at all. The case is that now that Biden is in, what is that thing floating around? Did you guys see that thing? Now that Biden is in the picture, I would expect that Israel is not going to, I think that was a UFO or something. But anyways, weird stuff happens when I go online. I think that we're gonna see a situation where what is said in biblical prophecy concerning Damascus, concerning Ezekiel 38 and 39, that this is really ready to play out in the very near future. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the rapture happen and war break out in the Middle East, or war break out in the Middle East and then the rapture to happen. But it's very possible that those things could happen simultaneously. The thing is that the table is set and has been set for the Middle East to blow up into a major crisis. Now, when we consider that the man of sin, the son of perdition, is going to confirm a covenant with many, wouldn't it make sense that there's war, or there's some high level of things being unsettled with countries, that would be welcomed? So that is the part that I think is important to understand, is that the fact that there's not peace between Iran and Israel and Russia and Turkey and Syria speaks of the red carpet, proverbially speaking, is being rolled out for the Antichrist to come in and take the Abraham Accords, to tweak it, adjust it, perhaps include Palestine, and make it a confirmation and make it a 7-year peace treaty that includes Israel being able to rebuild their temple. Okay? So I just want to share a few things here, because this is recent news. This is from Reuters in Jerusalem. It said that the Iran nuclear scientist assassinated near Tehran in November was killed by a 1-ton gun smuggled into Iran in pieces by the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, according to a report by the Jewish Chronicle on Wednesday. Citing intelligence sources, the British Weekly said a team of more than 20 agents, including Israeli and Iranian nationals, carried out the ambush on scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh after 8 months of surveillance. Reuters was not completely able to confirm the report, which was published on the website of the London-based newspaper. Iranian media said Fakhrizadeh died in the hospital after armed assassins gunned him down in his car. Shortly after his death, Iran pointed the finger at Israel. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif writing on Twitter of a serious indications of an Israeli role. So let me just pause there, because this is very serious. The fact that Iran now is claiming that Israeli agents are behind this murder of this man, who obviously is an important scientist that has to do with the nuclear development of arms in Iran, has been assassinated. And we know that, like, for example, World War I started because of an assassination. So when you got news reports like this, it just is adding to the tension in the Middle East. And Iran could very well start and initiate a strike against Israel based on something such as this. Okay? Here's another article that was published yesterday or 2 days ago. This is from the Jerusalem Post. I won't read the whole article, but it says, Iran is strategic threat battle with Hezbollah more likely. Analysis. Experts believe that the sharp drop in Iran's GDP is equal in its severity to the era of the Iran-Iraq War. Iran investment in its nuclear enterprise is a strategic threat to Israel, which is constantly acting in various ways to sabotage it and delay Tehran's quest for a bomb. At the end of 2020, Iran found itself at a nadir, the result of a hostile U.S. administration, heavy sanctions, floods, earthquakes, and of course the corona pandemic. Indeed, experts believe that the sharp drop in Iran's GDP is now as severe as it was during the era of the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s. However, as an ancient and proud nation, Iran has not allowed a very bad year to affect its long-term goals to develop a nuclear bomb and strengthen its dominance throughout the region. Regarding development of a bomb, it is assumed that if Iran were to make a decision today to start building a nuclear weapon, it would need about 2 years to complete the task. Regarding the region aspect, Iran wants to spread its hegemony across what is often referred to in the IDF as the Shiite Crescent, which spans from Iraq to Iran, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, and nurture its relations with the Sunni Hamas terrorist group in the Gaza Strip. The mechanism of this entrenchment has seen Iran establish cultural and religious ties as it sends money and munitions and supports local regimes. At the beginning of 2020, the Islamic Republic lost a dominant figure who orchestrated his efforts, broadening its influences. And it's Quds Force Commander Qasem Soleimani. So think about this, guys. You have Iran, whose GDP is as low as it was since the 1980s. With all the sanctions that President Trump laid on them, coupled with all the things that were mentioned here in this article, they're in a pretty desperate economic state. And the question is how long will they go in that state before they take action? They still plan on going forward with development and building this nuclear warhead, but they're gaining a more desperate situation as the days pass. Do not let things get so bad for the country economically that they may not have the option to continue becoming and making threats, being aggressive towards Israel. And we know they don't want to stop doing that. So let me just a little bit further down in the article. Throughout the year, Hezbollah continued to rearm and receive more advanced munitions from Iran, including precision-guided missiles and weapons. However, according to the sources in IDF, despite this threat, the IDF has developed more effective tools to counter Hezbollah. The group remains deterred and is not interested in embarking in a broad conflict with Israel, the sources said. Lebanon is mired in a severe economic, political, social crisis, and Hezbollah realizes that dragging it into war could lead to its complete collapse. On the other hand, Hezbollah is determined to achieve its goals and settle the score. This could be realized through a limited border confrontation that might escalate into a day or a few days of more intense combat. So what Iran is trying to do is they're equipping Hezbollah with weapons to be a nuisance with Israel towards its, I believe, northern border through Lebanon. And so, the thing is this, the thing is ultimately with all these little skirmishes is that Israel might get to a point, which it really seems like it, as they continue to hit targets in Damascus, hit targets in Syria, that it's going to get to a point where Israel's going to feel as they must act. They will not allow Iran to build a nuclear weapon. It's just not going to happen. And now with Trump out of the picture and Biden in the picture, more than likely, Israel's not going to have alliance with the United States. And they're not going to be able to count on us anymore like they were under Trump. So they may be forced to act. And what I mean by act is do a preemptive strike right in Iran where they probably know where they need to destroy so that Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. Why do you think Israeli agents were able to get into Iran and assassinate this scientist? Do you not think that Israel is working day and night to try to thwart the efforts of Iran? But eventually they're going to realize that the only way that this may truly work is for them to begin a war with them. which they're prepared to do. So you got really a situation in the Middle East, which is, to put it lightly, extremely volatile. And for the watchers, we understand that this is, again, fitting right in place. Now, President Trump boasted that he's the first president in I don't know how many years where our country, the United States, hasn't been in war during his administration. And so, actually, a stretch in time for the United States, quite a stretch in time for us to be not actively in a season of war with someone. And that's where I believe that time is ripe for war to break out. I'm not saying it's going to include the United States, but we know that. And just like D. Smith said, is that prophecy tells us Israel will be attacked. Okay? And that has to do with Ezekiel 38 and 39. Some people that follow Bible prophecy believe that Psalms 83 needs to be fulfilled. That's debatable. I know some people are very rigid on that. And some people believe that that particular psalm was fulfilled already during the 6-Day War. And some people believe that it's just a prayer, that it's not really a prophecy. And however you look at Psalm 83, it talks about God destroying Israel's enemies. So Shellbell says there's a war, a spiritual one, and that's so true. But as Christians and believers, we should be praying for Israel. We understand that there's going to be 144,000 Jews who are going to be converted in the tribulation period. And they're going to be on fire for the Lord. Be absolutely amazing. And I want to encourage you to pray for Israel, because what did the Lord say? There's a blessing for those who bless you, and there's a curse for those who curse you. Just kind of paraphrasing. So we should pray for Israel. We should pray that their eyes can be open for their Mashiach, which is Yeshua. We should pray that many Jews get saved. During the tribulation period, this is going to be the time where the fig tree finally produces ripe figs. Now, remember when Jesus came and right before his death, he passed by the fig tree, and all it had was leaves. It didn't have any fruit. And he cursed the fig tree. And to the amazement of the apostles, the next day, the fig tree was all withered and barren, was dead. What was that symbolic of? When Jesus walked the earth, the fig tree, Israel, did not produce any fruit. They rejected him as Messiah. So when is the fig tree going to produce fruit? It's in the tribulation period. I think that's one of the reasons why Jesus chose the parable of the fig tree on the Olivet Discourse, is because there's a storyline there with the fig tree, isn't there not? The Lord is looking for fruit, whether it be in the believer the spiritual fruit, the ninth fruit of the Spirit, we should be producing in our life, right? What about the parable of the vine and the vine dresser? Why does he continue to prune the fruit? Prune the branches so we could produce more fruit. So if you're a Christian that produces some grapes, but not to your full potential, he's going to continue to groom you and to, as a good vine dresser, do what needs to be done for you to produce as much fruit as possible. And that's how the Lord operates. And there's coming a day where Israel, finally, that fig tree will produce figs. And it's in the tribulation period. So when you think about a time of Jacob's trouble, right? During that time of trouble, this is the time where there were going to be a great conversion of Jews finally recognizing their true Messiah. And it's really going to boil over at the abomination that causes desolation. He will be rejected, and Jesus will be received by many Jews. So praise God for that. So what does that mean for us? That means, brothers and sisters who are part of the body of Christ, keep your eyes, I want you to keep one eye on Israel. And I want you to keep the other eye looking at the sky. Okay, it's going to be hard to train the eyes to do that. But as you walk around day by day, you should have one eye pointing towards Israel and one eye pointing up to the sky. Because by looking at Israel, you're going to see how important it is as we get more and more into prophecy being unfolded right before our eyes. And as Israel goes, we should keep an eye up because we know that God is about to intervene and do a work in Israel like never before. So we need to keep our eye for the Lord's return. Remember now, the Lord's main focus, not that he can't multitask because he's a great multitasker, but he is going to really focus on Israel during the 7-year tribulation period. He focused on the church for about 2,000 years, and he did a great work, but the church age is coming to an end. Now the main focus is on Israel. That's why you read, where do you read about the church? In the book of Revelation, once it says, once John goes up to heaven and the letter of the churches have ended, excuse me, then you don't read about the church anymore until maybe the end of the book. So if the whole New Testament was so important and focused on the church, the growth of the church, the individual development and growth of each saint, why in Revelation, after the letters to the 7 churches, we don't hear hardly peep about the church? You know why? Because Jim Jackson knows why. Jim Jackson said the church isn't part of any of the 70th week prophecy. Very good, Jim. See, you know what I like about Jim Jackson? The guy is sharp, like a razor. You ever get like a really sharp razor and get like a piece of paper and just go shh, and cut the paper? That's brother Jim Jackson. He is on point. And I'm not saying you guys are not sharp. I'm just saying Jim Jackson's on the ball. So kudos to him. Try to figure this, is that as we enter in the last days of the church age, we know that Israel is about to enter into its history, and that's going to top the Holocaust, believe it or not. 2/3 of Israel will die off during the 7-year tribulation period. Think about that. 2/3 will be cut off. I think it's in Zechariah that says that. That's a lot of people dying. It's a very sobering thought, isn't it? But this is the place. You have to understand, guys. This is the place where Jesus is going to return. Why do you think the Antichrist, Satan are going to gather the armies of the earth around Israel for the Battle of Armageddon? Do you know, who knows where the Lord will touch down when he comes back at his second coming? It's in the book of Zechariah. Who knows that? Let's see who gets it first. Nobody knows? Tammy Buchanan got it right, and Gary B got it right. Jennifer Rogers got it right. Oh, here we go. I want to see who was the first one who got it in there. Oh, wow, you guys are smart. It looks like the first person to type it in, those English Rose of Sharon, Mount of Olives, Pain Cave, in a Araptosecond, Joshua David E, Sandy, Jennifer Rogers, Gary B, Tammy Buchanan, Jesus is Lord of Lords, Kathy R, Nancy Lewis, Martin Pix, Dawn Logan, Betts, Foxy Fear. You guys are smart. Roger B, Jeff Miller, Jim Jack. You guys are amazing. Mount Sinai. That's not correct. But you know what? You guys are pretty sharp. Good job. Okay, so Satan is such. May the Lord rebuke him. Satan knows where Jesus is coming back, and he also probably knows that Jesus plans on establishing his throne in Jerusalem. And so remember now, Satan doesn't want to give up ownership of this world. Shell Bell, you're right. Bunch of sharp subs. Very sharp subs. So what is he going to do? The armies of the earth are going to be battling against each other. And when Jesus returns, with us following behind him in white horses, the armies will stop fighting against each other, and they're going to wage war against the Lamb. And that's going to be the time of the great winepress of the Lord's wrath. The armies of the earth. You're gonna shoot missiles at the Lord, bullets. Is this a joke or what? And with the word of his mouth, as we're following behind our great general against these wicked armies, the Lord's going to take care of them with literally words. They'll be destroyed. And then, when his feet touch down on the Mount of Olives, that mount will cleave, will split. Some believe that the remnant will be able to hide there as the Lord, defeats the enemy. I'm not sure. But Jesus is coming back. He came, the first time he came as a lamb. The second time he's coming like a lion. And he will establish his throne as the King of Kings. He's called King of Kings for a reason, guys. King of Kings and Lord of Lords in Jerusalem. And he will rule for 1,000 years with an iron rod, not tolerating sin. No more abortions. Marriage will be only between a man and a woman. He's not going to tolerate sin. It's going to be a very different world than what we're used to right now. And I look forward to that. I really do. It's going to be a world where you could pet the animals and they don't bite back. So, you know what? It's going to be the millennial reign, just like Nancy Anderson says, for 1,000 years. And we'll be reigning with him as kings and priests. What exactly does that look like? I don't know. But I'm sure it's much, much better than what we have going on right now. Okay? So, do you understand the importance of Israel? Do you understand how big a part of Bible prophecy involves them in these last days? The church needs to be taken out of the way so God could do his good and perfect work. So be happy about the rapture. The only way of looking at when the church needs to be taken out that fits, I believe, in harmony with the other prophecies of the tribulation period stated in regards to Israel, is that we need to be out of the way. We need to be out of the way. Like I said, God has dealt with the church for 2,000 years. I thought I saw Brokeeks. I don't know if that was a mirage. But if that's Brokeeks, I'd like to thank him, because Brokeeks has his finger on the pulse of the Middle East like probably nobody else except maybe J.D. Farag. Wonderful. I know Brokeek spends a lot of time keeping his eye on what's going on in the Middle East. And usually I get most of my information from him. I don't have to do all that much searching at all. Just Brokeeks Rokeek spoon feeds me like I'm a baby having Gerber baby food. You know, mashed peas, pureed plum. He just feeds me. So I'm thankful for that brother because I know that he does a lot of work. I just appreciate him. You know, he's probably wants to be raptured more than any of us. But while we're here, make sure you thank him because he's an important part of POL end times, right? The other thing too is that as you keep your eyes on Israel, and especially when you hear peace and security, peace and safety, that should be a red alarm for us. An absolute red alarm, because the warning in Thessalonians is about when they say peace and safety, right? This is all lining up perfectly. Do you understand the magnitude of these Abraham Accords? I mean, the name alone should jolt you. That's super highly significant. It may be as significant as anything we've seen in the last 10 years or so. And when I first caught wind of that, it really, I mean, it just like, wow, this is really happening. So I want to encourage you guys that if you're going by what you see in the Middle East, you should be excited. Okay, I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube that have different thoughts, different theories, but please understand, you don't even need to watch YouTube videos to see the problems going on in the Middle East. Things are heating up more and more, and I think we're at a breaking point. I can't see us getting into 2022 and nothing happens in the Middle East. Okay? So here is the time. What little time is left, here's the time to realize that the Lord is coming back and that you need to believe and place your trust in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who died on the cross for your sins, spilt his precious blood, paid in full for all your sins. He was buried, and 3 days later he rose again, and he's coming back soon. And that's exciting. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope to see you here, there, especially in the air. God bless.